know you.
That's a good thing.
Welcome to my top 10 Rose Quartz episodes. Rose has always been one of the most mysterious and intriguing characters on Steven Universe, but her pure selflessness and good intentions have always shined through. This video took a very long time for me to make, but I'm glad that I'm finally able to get it out and... oh no. Oh no. Oh no! You don't deserve this. You don't deserve to be attached to this beautiful baby boy.
Nick Tandor.
My mania for Steven Universe is officially back in full force. Every so often, the series will produce one of those nearly perfect episodes. Ones where the visual and audio presentation is at its highest point, where our questions are answered, or we share a phenomenal moment with one of the characters. When this show hits a high point, it's often in the stratosphere. And while for me, those high points have started to become fewer and far between, and mediocre to alright episodes are pretty much the norm for now, for me, they've done little to take away from the experiences that episodes like Ocean Gem, Sworn to the Sword, and Mr. Greg have brought me. Typically with the best Steven Universe episodes, I don't have to say that much to explain why I feel the way I do about one, but today that isn't quite the case. As of now, one of the 2 new episodes that premiered on Monday, A Single Pale Rose, is one that I would call one of those nearly perfect episodes. Can't Go Back was really great too, and certainly had one of the best songs that we've gotten in a long time, but the takeaway of it was really just drumming up hype for the episode that would follow it. A Single Pale Rose did in fact live up to the hype for me, and on the surface it should be clear why. It has the marks of the best that Steven Universe has to offer all over it, plus it was surprisingly funny when it needed to be too. But the deciding factor on whether or not you enjoyed this episode seems to be the twist that it presents. A twist that had been long regarded by fans as nothing more than an absurd observation. A twist that changes how the audience will view a fundamental figure in the series mythos. A twist that revealed that Ronaldo is actually an important character now. I mean, for the first time ever, he actually did something that was helpful to one of the characters. He's still a pretty intolerable character as a whole, but it's a start. So, Rose Quartz was actually just a disguise of Pink Diamond all along. She was, and always had been, Pink Diamond. In other words, this character and this character are the same character, and by extension, this character is kind of a reincarnated version of both of those characters. If this makes absolutely no sense to you, then you clearly haven't studied the history and habits of gay space rocks like I have. Everyone has gotten extremely up in arms about this, but in all honesty, I don't quite think that reaction has been warranted. People are very disappointed with this revelation for one reason or another. I'm going to try to address every common complaint I've seen about this episode in this video, but first, if you take a step back and look at the reveal in the context of what we know about Rose and Pink Diamond from the rest of the series, I think that everything fits together really well with what was established prior to the episode. We know that both characters shared a fascination with humans, as seen through Rose's continued interest in them and relationship with Greg, alongside Pink Diamond's habit of locking up humans she found on Earth in an artificial zoo. From the flashbacks in Jungle Moon and Can't Go Back, we know that Pink was childish and did little to maintain order, characteristics that carry over into Rose's worldview, and how she values freedom and choice above all else. I don't really think I need to go into the physical similarities between the two, as design-wise they feature similar color palettes and facial features. Seeing Pearl help Rose carry out the destruction of one of her lives also shows how far Pearl was willing to go for Rose, and why exactly she was so shocked to learn that Rose had still been keeping secrets from her in Rose's scabbard. We still don't really know the root of Pearl's deep loyalty to her yet. Pearl refers to Rose as her diamond during the flashback, inferring that she was made to serve her. This could possibly contradict the idea that she belonged to no one, which was said when Garnet referred to her in Your Mother and Mine, and when Bismuth was reunited with her. But from the little specifics we know now about Pearl's relationship with Rose, I'll let this slide. Okay, so while I was editing this segment, I found this clip that quickly explains Pearl and Rose's relationship and how it changed.
Convincing? Very much so, my diamond. Soon it will be just Rose.
I probably should have just played this clip instead of going off on this for a minute, but I didn't because I have poor planning skills. There were teeny tiny hints sprinkled throughout the series that hinted at a connection between the two characters. There was never anything entirely obvious, but looking back on it, you can tell that the twist was planned all along, and the Crewniverse were dangling a string in front of the viewers' faces for all this time.
You can't sit there!
Why not? It's really cool.
That chair is only for the most elite gems. You can't go around sitting where an elite would sit.
Well, they aren't here now, right?
One teeny tiny connection I just picked up on occurred during the flashback in Jungle Moon. Right after Yellow Diamond addresses to Pink, they cut to a shot of Steven's gem. I may be reading a little too much into this, but they could have cut to anything here. But they made the decision to cut to the gem that would end up belonging to Pink Diamond all along. Let's move on to one of the common points of contention with this twist, which is exactly the way Pink Diamond went about destroying one of her lives. So Rose uses Pearl to carry out the deed, not because she wants to pin the blame on her, but because two people were necessary for the stunt to work.
I can't exactly shatter myself.
The plan itself involves Pearl shapeshifting into Rose, and Rose shapeshifting back into Pink Diamond, and then have Pearl strike Pink Diamond in a way where it appears that she's been shattered, but instead she's just been poofed. It sounded like a pretty sound plan to me, though you kinda have to see it for it to make sense. I'm really not doing the best job explaining it right now. However, some have taken issue with the nitty-gritty details presented with how the event plays out in the flashback. A lot of people are confused about the shape-shifting abilities of a Pearl, which we see here for the very first time. Why we haven't seen Pearl shapeshift before is probably out of guilt for what she did, as briefly she feels disgusted when asked to do it in Keep Beach City Weird.
It's Steven Tag. Steven tagged you. Now you have to turn into Steven.
It's the rules.
Oh, please.
It could also be to shake off suspicion and help to keep her promise to Rose too, but for now, I think that both are valid for one reason or another. Pearl appears to change her color when transforming into Rose, but does she really? A single pale Rose has a wild color palette to match its different flashbacks. And it even changes a bit between different flashbacks in the same location. So again, this isn't much of a valid complaint from what we know. Rose also swallows some gem shards that she plans to spit out when she's poofed to create the illusion that she has been shattered. Even though previously poofed gems have never been shown to spit anything out that they had recently digested after their physical forms are destroyed. This detail kind of created a little unneeded confusion, but truthfully, if you dislike this twist for this detail only, then you might need to get your priorities straight. It's really not a big part of the scheme at all. There's also the way that Rose transformed between her two personas in the first place, by flipping her gem so that it looked completely different in both forms. Theorists might be a little angry that they didn't really think of this, but I think it's really cool. Besides, they showed how she did it, and it looks pretty plausible to me. Not really sure how someone could find this to be such a big problem. So the twist itself is huge in its own right, but what's really gotten everyone shaken up are the ramifications that it has on the rest of the series.
Mom was Pink Diamond.
What?
The character responsible for saving the gems on Earth from the tyranny of the Diamond Authority, the founder of the Crystal Gems, the one who Steven has always looked up to and tried to follow in the footsteps of, was just a selfish, foolish liar all along. She was responsible for starting the war that caused the death of thousands of gems. She locked up generations of humans in an artificial zoo. She bailed on being the ruler of her colony when she got distracted, and she put all the responsibilities for her actions onto Steven. All this has pretty much put Rose past the point of ever being redeemed in the eyes of many. And I agree, I can't really look at this character and what she represents the same way again. However, I actually found this insight into Rose's character to be amazing in so many ways. I don't think that being Pink Diamond ruins Rose's character. As I pointed out before, these two characters being one and the same fits in with what we know about them. And with Rose, I think it does a good job to evolve and develop her further. Prior to this, we've only seen Rose through the eyes of other characters who mainly remember her fondly, meaning that we hardly ever got to see the negatives to Rose's character. She was never one-dimensional, and I was always involved in her story, but she didn't really become a big deal to me until Back to the Moon. That's when I felt there was something to this character besides her not having a perfect grasp on human culture. And I love how the curtain was rolled back on her even more in A Single Pale Rose. This episode didn't turn Rose into a mustache-twirling villain. It showed that she was even more flawed and clueless than we knew. And over the course of making this video, I never once doubted that Rose is what she was revealed to truly be. I can't really think of any other cartoons with a plot twist that completely changed a fundamental character in the story while also staying true to what we know. But the reveal that Rose Quartz was Pink Diamond did that for me. The execution wasn't perfect, but the only issues I really have with it are nitpicks at best. If you were more attached to Rose as a character before, and think that this was too unnecessary or predictable of a character turn, I can understand. Now, if you had a very specific theory in mind about how this would play out, then you have to accept that the show is what it is, and nothing can change that. Theorizing about everything is a great way to spark discussion. But if you let it dictate your views and drive your hype, then I think you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. However you feel about the twist, rewatching this series is going to be a really interesting experience. But not because I think it ruined any of the episodes. Some of the arcs do seem a little pointless now, like Jesper's quest to get revenge on Rose Quartz for killing Pink Diamond is super ironic now, but the great qualities of each episode haven't changed a bit. and if anything, a new layer of depth has been added to the show. I was always one to laugh at the theory of rose quartz being Pink Diamond, but I'm more than happy to eat my words after seeing how believable it was all made out to be. But with all that being said, what could sour the taste of this twist is how its aftermath is handled. I don't want this to be resolved in only an episode or two, which does happen rather often with this series, even in episodes that I do really like. I want the Crystal Gems to accept who Rose really was. Some people's mistakes cannot be forgotten, and this is an instance where that lesson needs to be taught. The characters need to realize the implications of what they've learned, just as the viewers have, and they need to understand the deep consequences that Rose's actions have had on both themselves and the Homeworld Gems. I know that I may be setting myself up to be disappointed, but I feel like this is really the only way that they can pull this whole twist off. Just keep the episodes interesting while developing the characters, fill in a few questions that this episode brought up, and don't bring in characters during this arc that have no significance to it or reason to be a part of it. If the Crewniverse is able to stick the landing, I think that Steven Universe might be on track to enter the beginning of the end of this series in a satisfying way, and I'm more excited than ever to see what's in store for the future of the show. Hopefully more than 8 episodes air during the rest of the year. Personally, the sooner I get a chance to review all of Season 5, the better. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I know that episode analysis videos aren't really my thing, but I felt very strongly about my feelings towards this one, and I kind of needed to make a video on it to get all my thoughts on it out of my head. Hopefully everything here made sense to you and you were able to understand my perspective or see a new side of this twist that you didn't notice before. Also, I apologize for the unnecessarily long wait between the past few videos. Over the next few months, I'm going to be a lot less busy, and that means you'll be seeing a lot more content from me, including a big new countdown next week, so look forward to that and hopefully much more to come. I'm Nintendo, and I just noticed something. After this big change went down, Love Like You sounds a little different than it did before. Just have a listen.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to
Lie.
when I see the way you act.